Hey, welcome to Let's Talk Nation. I'm your man, Rod Love, and who do we have sitting to my left is none other than the General Attorney Greg Jackson.
Once again, it's on, Brother Love. Hey, you know how we get this thing started every week, man. How's this weekend for you this past weekend?
Hey, man, this weekend was great, and I can't just say that this weekend was great without saying congratulations to my nephew, Keyshawn King, who graduated, man, got his bachelor's degree this weekend, man, from the University of Western Michigan.
Outstanding, man. Congratulations to him. So, what are his future plans? Has he announced his future plans?
Well, very interesting enough, he has one more year of eligibility, so he's going to stay in school. He full ride. Yeah, he got his bachelor's, and because of COVID, his eligibility continued to run, so he'll get a year under his belt for his master's, and I hope he runs fast.
Outstanding. Listen, man, that is great news. Outstanding to hear. And you know, as much as people ask questions and question, is education or the expense of education worth it? I will say that for the most part, one of the greatest ways to reduce the income gap is through education. Regardless of what a lot of people think, yeah, there are a lot of people that can make it without college degrees and things like that, but for the most part, those who go out, get higher education and things of that nature, they are going to do much better in their life's future. So congratulations to him, man, and big ups, and hoping that he has like big things coming in the future as well.
Well, Greg, we talk about a little bit of everything here, and so one of the things, man, I got to ask you about, since we're on education. Greg, I saw something regarding one of the governing board of directors for FAMU, and it was talking in reference to their percentage of their pass-fail rate, I believe it was.
Well, now, Brother Love, one of the things we don't do here, we don't talk about FAMU.
Well, it's in the news. How can we not talk about it?
We don't talk about FAMU. Now, we talk about BCC or BCU. We can talk about Edward Waters College, King Rose College. We can talk about anybody you want to.
But we ain't talk about the rappers.
No, we ain't talking about no rappers.
So we not. Hey,
I rebuke thee.
You rebuke? Yeah, great. I thought we gave information and knowledge to all.
That is information. We'll talk about FAMU on this podcast. There we go.
Hey, well,
what's next? Who's next?
Okay, who's next? Hey, you Wildcats, y'all need to call in and complain about that. The phone number is 321-483-7002. Y'all, hey, you want to be biased in the reporting.
Listen, why are they doing that, man? Because why you want to tell them that? Why don't you tell them that they are now tuned in to two of the most influential voices in Central Florida on the Monday Night Podcast, Brother Love and Greg Jackson, the dynamic duo, guaranteed to raise your IQ 10 to 15 points. And on some nights, Brother Love, 15 is plus 15 is 30. But if you want to be a part of the night, all you got to do is hit 321-483-7002 to talk to Brother Love and Greg Jackson, the dynamic duo, guaranteed once again to raise that IQ. But we got to start doing that, because I think I got a call from the Attorney General's office. They say we can't prove that number, but just for tonight, it's our opinion. It's our opinion that we're going to raise your IQ. And so, Brother Love, with that stated, we got to let the people know that we're here to let's get it on.
All right. So, Greg, with that, and you know what, man, I can't hold the reins back. Greg, you ever rode a horse before?
Do you count walking it as riding?
No, you can't. You can't count walking.
You can't count that?
You can't count walking it, because when you walking it, you holding the reins, but you walking with the reins in your hand.
No, I'm talking about when you're on the back and you just ride it. You
can't count that, because you gotta hold the reins.
Good, yeah, I'll bring the horse. You don't count that then. I'll bring the horse.
Well, then tell you what, when you galloping, I'm gonna pull the reins back on this one. Because Greg, did you watch the debate?
Oh, my. Why you want to start it?
And you know what? I shouldn't even be talking about horses. I should be talking about trains. You know why I should be talking about trains?
Nicely played.
You like that?
Nicely played. I like that. I like that. But let's talk nation know why you talk about trains, like Brother Love.
Because I was talking about holding the reins back from a horse and having a conversation about the debate. But I should have been talking about trains, because it was nothing but an absolute train wreck.
Brother Love, for those who did not see the debate on Thursday night, and we talked a little bit about it, we talked about how the debate was coming up. This is something that Trump challenged President Biden to, and President Biden gladly accepted and said, he's going to show up and appear. As a matter of fact, they have another debate set in September, and my advice
Oh, they do? Do they have
They
another
do.
one?
My advice is that, that President Biden finds some reason to be out of town that day so he can't do the debate. And so for those who didn't see it, and listen, I'm not just saying this. This is, I mean, across the board, you know, Democrats alike, such as myself, are saying that it was an embarrassing performance by President Biden at this last debate. And at the very least, Donald Trump pointed out something about Joe Biden, and he's been saying for a number of months now that Biden is weak, that he is not all there. And if you watch that debate, Brother Lovett, as sad as it is, you know, well, let me take it as comical as it was, because you know, you, Doc Polite, Brother Armando, and myself, we were texting each other doing the things. And at first, it was all laughs and hee-hees and ha-has. Then I noticed y'all got quiet over it because it wasn't funny no more.
It wasn't.
When you saw what was taking place.
It wasn't. But Greg, never have I seen, never have I ever. I like that.
Ever.
Never have I ever, never, never, ever. Greg,
What?
this thing was not even over when the debate, once they concluded it, you heard the calls
Yeah,
to replace
yeah.
him before the talking heads even started.
Listen. Before the credits ran at the end of the debate, there were Democrats on social media saying that Biden needed to drop out of the race immediately, if not sooner. And I mean, listen, Brother Love, from the very first time that Biden stepped onto the stage, and I know people are going to think that I'm lying about this, but from the very first time he stepped on the stage, I thought that he looked weak. I thought that he looked frail. And from the very first question that he answered, it was confirmed.
So let me hit you with this.
Yeah.
And this is a simplified question.
Okay.
When you think about optics, optics are important. That wasn't just the stage for the United States.
You're right.
That was the global stage.
You're right.
So the optics on looking presidential, being presidential.
He didn't look it. He didn't look it. But listen, and Joe Biden is 82 years old right now. And I'm going to tell you this I looked at some clips of Joe Biden from 2 years ago. In 2 years, Joe Biden has aged significantly.
But all presidents do.
No. Go back and watch Joe Biden from 2 years ago and look at the Joe Biden that was on stage this past Thursday. This is not the typical Bill Clinton, George Bush, or Obama going into office and getting gray hair.
Yeah, but let me hit you with this, brother.
This is somebody that is there's some decline there.
Yeah, but here's something. You know, this is one from one of our good friends, Dr. Randy Nelson.
Okay.
I mean, here's a person who has taught us, and you've been formally trained in speaking about facts. So
Yeah.
I'm the layman in this. So y'all had to work on me for years to just speak fact and not theory.
There we go.
But if you talk about George Bush, when he went in there, he wasn't anywhere near 80 something years old. I'm talking about the son.
Yeah. Well, the
and
dad
I'm
or the
thinking,
son?
well, hold up. But the
The
dad,
what?
when the dad went in, how old was the dad?
Now you talking about Reagan's Vice President Bush, or you talking about
President.
Both of them were
George,
president.
yeah.
Both of them were George.
George.
Which one?
I'm talking about the son.
Which son?
Greg, the son who was the president. It's only been one son, George Bush, that was the president. There's only been one son.
It's been a George Herbert and a George Walker. So you're talking
So
about George
The son.
H.W.
The son.
George H.W.
And
Bush.
George H.W. That's what I'm talking about. Greg, he was nowhere near the age
Oh, he was in his 40s. What, in the
Yeah.
early 50s and late 40s?
Okay, but my point, he wasn't anywhere near where President Biden is at. Now I'm gonna go to, and we saw him age in the presidency.
But,
And
but listen,
then we seen
listen,
Obama
but listen,
age in the presidency.
we talking about two different things. We're talking about aging with gray hair. We're not talking about aging with mumbling, stumbling, and whispering and shuffling on stage like a robot.
And so my point is this. Here's somebody who went in that was already, and I hate to say it like this, Greg, headed toward decline. And look at where they're at right now.
But listen, can you say that though?
I can say it and show it.
Because listen, can you say that just because he was older going into office that he was headed into decline? Because him and Trump are not that far in age.
Correct.
And there is a clear difference from Trump's stamina or Trump's ability to handle issues and questions than it was for Joe Biden.
You got a point, but here's what I would say to you on that. Greg, I would never say that a person that is in their 80s I wouldn't say that nobody can handle the rigors of the presidency. What I would say is we saw this before. We saw this on the stage of 17 nominees.
Yeah, but not this bad.
Not, yeah.
This is horrible. This is horrible. What's up, Doc?
Hey, what's up? How was your weekend?
Man, we already went through that. What's up, Doc?
Hey, Doc. Hey, Doc. Hey, Greg. Do you see
What did this do?
You got that-
What did this do? Hey, do I need to come over there and give Greg a hug? You know,
Greg
forgot
is
who I
doing
am.
this
You,
tonight. Greg is doing this
every
tonight.
time I come on now, Ron, he roasts me.
Huh?
I say he roasts me every time I come on.
Hey, and you know what? He gets
No, I'm gonna
good,
tell you
Doc.
why. No, I'm gonna tell you why. We're gonna get
Why?
this out in the open right now. I'm gonna say it in front of all our 20 million listeners. Because Doc Polite and Rod Love be on the phone going out together on weekends and they'll never include you. Some of them, all of them. Everybody's in my sight. Don't you laugh because I'm coming at you next. Hey, that's why I do it. Yeah, you know why I do it. You supposed to be my friend, Doc Polite. You ain't supposed to be his friend.
Doc.
We're gonna be down like 2 flat tires. I don't care what. All 3 of us. So it don't matter.
Hey, Doc.
But
you
hey,
up that-
Ron, tell him why he don't get them phone calls.
Hey,
I wanna hear this.
I'm not going
I
there.
wanna hear this.
Doc, why you gonna pull me in there,
Yeah,
Doc?
but yeah, why, Brother Love, don't I get these calls?
Because you don't answer your phone. But anyway, I wanted to.
I know you gonna.
No, you respond to my text. Now it'll go to Greg Jackson, Attorney Greg Jackson voicemail, and he'll respond back via text.
Y'all ain't lying.
Now why you gonna throw me out there?
No,
on
y'all ain't
air?
lying. Y'all ain't lying. Y'all right. Y'all ain't lying.
Hey, I know Greg
Ex
doing all these
Armando.
photo shoots. See, Doc, you taking us way off script.
I didn't intend to, but as soon as I
Doc,
popped
Doc,
up, I
Doc,
started
wait,
getting roasted.
Wait
So
1 second, Doc. Before you begin, you got that People Bryson look going on.
that what?
Well, your good time, Doc.
Hey, you know, I'm sitting there at the control desk. I just threw on something. You know, Robbie going ballistic about that jacket thing. So I ain't want. Hey,
You doing your thing, Doc. You doing your
hey,
thing.
but listen, I came on here because I can tell you one sign that everybody that knows this can tell that Joe Biden is done for.
What's that?
That gaping mouth, that's a signature of dementia.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was very, and if you watch it, if you go back and you turn off the volume and watch him, he's very much, the signs are there. Donald Trump, I'm a Democrat, y'all, 100% a Democrat. Donald Trump in that debate beat Joe Biden like he stole something.
Hey, Doc, but here it is though. He did it without having to do it in the nature and the form and fashion that we've been accustomed to.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
didn't trump him too bad. But now, Doc, let me ask you this question. Did you see Joe Biden coming onto and getting off of stage?
Yeah.
I mean,
I've been watching him now for a while, and you can tell the decline is there. They can say what they want to, but this is typical of the modern Democratic Party. They fail to address issues until they are too late. This is we've had this for the last 50 years of Democratic leadership. Wait your turn and all of this kind of foolishness instead of letting them get out there and turn it into a mud fest and let the best man, let the cream rise to the top.
yeah.
Hey, Doc, Greg, y'all both are familiar with Carvel, right?
Yeah.
And very, I mean, James, yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
so here's a Democratic operative who's nationally, globally known.
Yeah.
And for this guy to go out on national TV and appeal to Democratic donors to say, y'all better switch up before it's too late. This is somebody in their own party that's saying, you better do something now before it's too late.
Well, they're trying. They're trying. But here's the thing, too, though. Because, Doc, to your point, even in seeing the decline in Joe Biden, you still had people that were trying to defend what he did. Kamala Harris is one that was trying to defend what he said. Well, you know, he started off slow, started off weak at the end of the show. No, he was weak the whole time. But the other thing, too, is that in looking at this debate, you know, one of the things that was said is that without pointing to specifics, and I'm sure they could have done one, without pointing, they said Donald Trump lied 50 times. Donald Trump, my challenge is this. Let's talk about the lies that he told. And let's really truly address it. And let's also look at and address the lies that Joe Biden told. The fact of the matter is, any candidate, they're going to get up there and they're going to say whatever, but it's up to the other candidate to fact check those individuals. And I'm going to tell you, there were some things that Joe Biden said that were just completely in left field. Now, the things that Donald Trump said, they may be questionable and different things like that, but I didn't hear 50 lies from Donald Trump.
But you know what? And Greg, I'm glad you said that. And Doc, Greg, and our viewing audience, the visual is what everybody saw. The optics of what everybody saw. Now think about this being a United States citizen and us looking at the optics of this. Think about what the rest of the country, the rest of the world was looking at. Do you think what they saw, and I'm just saying this objectively, do you think that showed strength?
No.
That's my point in case.
We've got this myth of the idea that the United States cannot be ever attacked because we are only connected on the south and northern borders, and we have oceans across. And in the age of hypersonic nuclear weapons, that's just not true.
Yeah.
And we just haven't had somebody on the world stage mad enough to get one and launch it at us.
But Doc, it doesn't even have to be munitions. I mean, in today's world, people are being attacked through cyberspace. That is another way to disable, municipalities or governments or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's very true.
Hey, something, and I got to throw this out, and this is kind of going off to the side, but I'm gonna put us back on the same track. That either one of you see, and in spite of what anybody think of this guy has earned his stripes. Byron Donalds, Representative Byron Donalds out of South Florida. He and the representative, I think his name is Wesley, out of Texas. They were entertaining, and they call it Congress Conversation and Smokes or something with cigars. And they had some of the general public come in and they were having a conversation. Guess what? One of the things that really triggered a whole lot of conversation, it also triggered some controversy doing this thing. That's what the number one issue that was being discussed that really made that room uncomfortable and pit those folks against one another. Guess what?
What, black jobs and Hispanic jobs?
Well, it wasn't jobs, it was immigration. It was immigration. And I'm gonna frame this up for you. This one guy got up and he started saying to Representative Donalds, why are you guys so hard on allowing people to come into this country? Why are you wanting to close the borders down? Why are you so rigid on illegal, undocumented immigrants? And the guy kept at it. He kept lambasting until this other guy from on the other side of the room stood up. And he said, I've had just about enough of you that I can take. And here's quote unquote what he said. And Greg, when I heard it and I read it, he said, man, you answer this question for me. He said, a black man could be on the run for 20 years and they finally catch him in this today's that we live in, 2024. He says, he's not getting any amnesty. He says, he didn't have a problem with undocumented immigrants coming into the country. He said, just do it the right way. He says, follow the rules everybody else are following. And man, from there, I thought it was gonna level out. From there, it just went here. So when you talk about the issues that were being discussed during the debate, undocumented immigrants, the border control, I tell you, it's gonna stay controversial.
I mean, one of the more ridiculous things that I heard during the debate, and again, whoever prepared Biden needs to be ashamed of themselves. Because remember, Biden was in isolation for a week preparing for this debate. For a whole week he was out, he wasn't taking, he wasn't doing any events, anything like that. And this was supposed to be his shining moment to show the American people that they had no concerns about his age. And when the question came up about immigration, one of the things that was referenced is the fact that there have been a number of illegal immigrants led into this country who have committed horrendous crimes against American citizens. And Donald Trump even mentioned you know, the rape and the murder of young women by these immigrants. And Biden's response was, well, people are being raped by their brothers, by their sisters, by family.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to addressing the fact that if these individuals were not just let into this country, we would not be having these issues to this level and to this degree. The fact that you have U.S. military veterans who are homeless, but you have illegal immigrants living in luxury hotels is ridiculous. And there was no good response from Biden on that except everything this guy's saying is a lie. But if you go and you look on the news, or if you go and ask these individuals in New York and Chicago and these other places, hey, have you seen this? This is real stuff that's taking place against Americans in this country under the Biden administration with these open borders.
But it's real stuff, and we've been having this conversation for a long time. Remember when we first started talking about sanctuary cities?
Yeah.
We talked about sanctuary cities until sanctuary city said, we're being asked to pay the bills now.
Duh, big red truck. Yeah.
Well, you know, here's my take on it. Not one illegal person should get anything in this country. Period. Not
Well, tell,
one.
but Doc,
not,
tell that to New York that. how
you
much
see,
did they put aside
if
today?
they choose to
Well,
do
they get
it,
$3 million
then
for gift certificates so that they could go get food and.
I tell you what, Adams won't get a second term.
And how much was the hotel bill?
Oh, ridiculous.
Over $100 million.
And Adams won't get a second term. He's
No,
turning
remember
into
they shut down
what's
the school in New York also. They shut down the school because they were allowing the illegal immigrants to come into the school.
So the taxpayer students that lived there had to get homeschooled because they needed to use the public
So-
school
Yeah.
for shelter.
Yeah.
So let me ask y'all this. Why do you think it is such a problem? What is it that our government agencies don't get to understand as to why no illegals should come in?
Well, listen,
Why-
I don't think it's the agencies. Remember, it's the policy that's set by the administration. And this administration's policy is that when individuals come into this country illegal, up until recently, and then that policy of restricting the number of illegal immigrants coming across the border is failing as well. But it's a policy that when individuals come into this country illegally, that you don't ask them any questions. That they get the same rights, the same benefits as American citizens without being American citizens.
But
And
why?
they do that because, look, it's a power grab.
But I
Because
gotta go back to what
people
you
you
said,
have, the more people you have that come into this country and they think that they owe you something for letting them into this country, when the time for elections come, presumably, who do you think they're gonna vote for? Oh, the person that let us in, well, the Democrat, so we're gonna vote Democrat. That's what this is about.
But Greg, I gotta come
about
back.
stacking the board.
Stacking the deck, but I gotta come
Well-
back to
Stacking the deck, yeah.
something you said earlier. When you look at veterans that are sleeping on the street.
Yeah.
When you look at the housing situation that we're in right now for people who not only have served this country, and you know what, Greg, I take my hat off to people who served this country, but just think about American citizens who contributed to society, period, and have fallen on hard times.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at New York, you look at Chicago, and them folk in Chicago, it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
They're not taking it anymore, but at the same time, you look at Chicago, and we talked about it last week, I think it was, to where, I mean, some of this stuff is crazy. The mayor of Chicago set aside, how many millions, did we talk, $10 million, and the murder rate there is so high that they're setting aside $1,500 to
Per
help,
family, yeah.
per family, to help offset murder victims' families' funeral expenses. To me, that says you're surrendering.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But let me tell you about some key moments in that debate on Thursday, things that still stick out in my mind. There was a point when Biden was answering a question, and there was a question dealing with immigration, and Biden was going through his thing, and so they turned to Trump, they said, well, President Trump, and he said, I don't have any idea what that guy said.
I saw that. I saw that.
That was one key moment. The other key moment is when they started talking about the golf game, and Joe
Oh, man, that
Biden
was crazy.
proclaimed that he had the sixth handicap, that they rated him when he was vice president, he had the sixth handicap. Apparently, pro golfers, I think they said Chambreau has a 6.5 handicap.
So they compared themselves with them guys?
And there's no way, because I sent y'all the picture with Biden's golf swing. That was real. That was real. He does not have a 6, but then he even changed in. It was like, well, I said an 8 handicap.
Is it
and
bad as
there was
Barkley's?
that too. But here's the other moment too. And I didn't know what to expect when this question came up or when this statement came up because I knew it was going to come up. I knew it was going to come up, and Trump knew it was too. When Biden said the only person on this stage who is a convicted felon is that guy over there. And I said, how is Trump going to address that question when it comes back? And I think that Trump did something that was, and listen, I keep telling you, I'm not a Trump fan, but I don't like what's been taking place because the way that they're treating Trump is the same way that they can treat other people as well. And Trump said, well, your son is a convicted felon also of some serious crimes. He said, you can be a convicted felon. If the information that's on that laptop, which everybody said that I was telling the lie, and it's now true because he had to turn it over, if the information on that laptop comes out, then you can be a felon. As a matter of fact, as a vice president, you said you were withholding federal dollars to a government by saying that if you didn't fire a prosecutor, that they wouldn't get $1 billion. That is quid pro quo. That is doing something. And so the way that he responded to that question, I don't think that many people picked up on that, but those were some of the highlights from that, because I was wondering, how is he going to handle this question of being a convicted felon, particularly since I don't think that that conviction is going to stand.
But you know something, Greg, with that, because I was anticipating what was going to take place when that happened, when that question came up, because we all knew it was coming up.
Yeah.
Did you notice that that was not a full stop on that question, because the response to it, I think, beat down the attack. And it didn't come to a full stop. And it was almost, Greg, like, next question.
Yeah. So we have a question. There'll be those who will respond by saying, we said, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masters yearning to breathe free. But remember, those individuals had to come through Ellis Island and do it the proper way. We've never said, we have never said that individuals cannot come to this country. We believe that anyone who wants to be an American citizen, who believes in the freedoms of this country, who are willing to go through the process the right way, yeah, absolutely. They should be here and they should have the opportunity to fulfill the American dream.
And you know what? I like that statement, but I'm going to like it even better when we get that individual who happened to also be a guest co-host on this show.
Too long ago. That was too long ago. Yeah, we should come back. That's been too long.
Hey,
I think about the money my wife spent to become a citizen here. And the process she went through. Okay? And that's what we're talking about. Do it the right way. You just want to skip the line and disregard everybody else. Everybody that came here just about had a reason, a compelling reason to leave where they were born at and come here. Okay, for the same reason, opportunity, persecution, or whatever the reason is, they came here in the same or similar circumstances, but they went about it the right way. What makes these people special that they don't have to abide by our laws, and that we have people who are in power or in position who don't follow the immigration statutes.
Yeah, I mean,
it seems like all of a sudden immigration became a problem in the last 10 years, when before you couldn't. You just didn't have it. They'd send you right back. So they could find you.
So let me ask this question, and Greg, I heard you respond to it earlier, and that is, what's the value of one party pushing to say, let's let our borders be open?
Yeah, I mean, it's simple to me, in that if they can get millions of people coming into this country under a Democratic president, those individuals may feel, and I think they're overplaying their hand on this, those individuals will feel compelled to keep them in power so that they can continue to bring people in or continue to come into this country. And I think that, if we take that viewpoint, that will continue to weaken this country, weaken its borders, because what's happening is those individuals who are coming into this country, a lot of them, we don't even know where they've come from and what their true intentions are. There have been some reports that there are individuals who are on certain terror lists who have actually gotten into this country, which we don't hear. We don't hear that stuff, but if that's the mainstream media failing to report what's taking place.
And you're right. And you know what, Greg? We have our guest co-host. She co-hosting virtually here. She need to call on in. But one of the things she said is she doesn't believe that anyone has actually added up the actual cost before just handing over resources without a long-term solution. How long have we been here talking about the border issue? Far longer than we've had a show.
Yeah, but the other thing too, though, is you know, the government feels that they can print money. And they feel like if they run short, then they can tax more people. You know, that's what this is all about. And you know, and I heard in the debate that there was some criticisms to tax cuts for the people that they consider to be wealthy. But I think we've had some real conversations about this. You know, when I was a defense attorney, I could most certainly see the changes in my salary when Trump cut those tax cuts, and I am not and was not in the 1%.
Well, I will say this, Greg, and you know, I've been, you know, I go back to the Jeb Bush days, Governor Jeb Bush, and when I look at,
Which Trump pulled a Jeb Bush on Biden, and it failed too.
it fell, but man, when I look at the private sector, when I look at how the private sector constricts, when the market says we don't have that amount of consumers that are purchasing our products, we have to constrict, but you don't see the same thing taking place from a government standpoint.
Yeah.
What you see is the ability to increase, whether it's driver's license fees, whether it's property taxes, you name it, it does not constrict.
Yeah.
And so that is the issue. And when Michelle talks about the actual cost and handing over resources without a long-term solution, I think that's what we're actually doing.
Yeah, yeah. But listen, though, as we look back at the debate on last Thursday, as indicated, there was a question that came up, or there was a comment that was made, came up about you know, Donald Trump being a convicted felon and that he has some other cases coming up. Well, one of those cases, Brother Love, the U.S. Supreme Court has actually ruled in a manner that will benefit Donald Trump in one of the cases that he's facing, and that is the alleged election tampering case that went to a federal court judge, well, not the election, the election tampering case dealing with the January 6th insurrection, riot, whatever you want to call it. The proper term, I believe, is riot in this case. And so the U.S. Supreme Court just today, Brother Love, ruled that Donald Trump does have limited immunity as a U.S. president or former U.S. president. Now, what that means is that if Donald Trump was doing an official act or activity that he was constitutionally authorized to do, then he has immunity from criminal prosecution. Now, if it was or is considered to be an unauthorized act, then he does not have immunity from criminal prosecution.
So Greg, let me ask you this question, and I mean, this is a question I've seen being floated out there, and it's asking the question, does the president have the authority to question the outcome of an election?
I would say, yeah. I would say absolutely. If there is something that has gone awry with a process in this country, I absolutely think that a president has the right and the ability to question and should question that. If it happens, you know, with this election and Joe Biden wants to question, I think that as president, he has the right to do it. And so when I saw, you know, some of the comments about, you know, this is Trump and, you know, the Supreme Court is helping Trump out and different things like that, the way that this should really and truly be viewed is to help to clarify issues for all U.S. presidents. For instance, if someone wants to come up against Biden for anything that he's done after his presidency, they shouldn't be allowed to do it if he was acting in his official capacity and he was constitutionally authorized to do so. It's ridiculous that a president would have to be worried about being prosecuted for things that he has the ability to question things that he's able to do.
So Greg, help me with this, because this is out of my bailiwick when we talk about justices ruling in favor of the January 6th defendants related to being overcharged.
So, you know, January 6th was a horrible day in this country's history. And I don't think that anyone would disagree with me on that, or maybe a few people may disagree with me on that. But as horrible as January 6th was, Brother Love, it was not what people were saying that it was. At best, or at worst, it was a riot and individuals who went into the U.S. Capitol and did some stupid things. An insurrection is where you think about individuals that are coming with arms and coming to take over a government. While I think that they were looking to disrupt you know, the proceeding, I don't think that these individuals were insurrectionists. And by definition, and we've gone through the definition of what an insurrection is, it does not meet or fit the definition of insurrection. Don't take my word for it. Please don't. go and do the research and read it for yourself. That's what we always encourage people to do. That's why your IQs on Let's Talk Nation always go up, because we not just give you the information, but we challenge you to go and fact
Go
check
do your
for
research.
yourself. Yeah, do your own research. And so at the end of the day, what the U.S. Supreme Court has determined is that one of the laws that they said that one of these January 6th rioters violated or defendants violated was actually a law that was for evidence tampering, where someone destroys evidence or destroys documents in the course of official business. And that was not the case with whoever this individual was. There are going to be a lot of different things that are going to be overturned as people start to realize that there was an overreach in what was done. For instance, like I said, the conviction of Donald Trump, as poor of judgment that Donald Trump made, the Attorney General for the state of New York indicated, or the former Attorney General for the state of New York said that he would not have brought the case against Trump. And the laws that they use in order to convict Trump, the 34 counts that he was convicted on, most legal scholars agree that those things were not proper and will be overturned. And so what happens is when you have these things that happen, where the courts have to step in and reverse what a lower court has done, it makes it look as if the courts are favoring one person over the other. But when you really truly look at the judicial system and what it's there for, it's there to ensure that laws are properly followed and interpreted. And when you misinterpret a law, that's why the courts are there to help with the interpretation of what law should be.
Brother Jackson, that was excellent, but here's something I want to ask you to do.
Yeah.
This next topic, I want you to take your time on it.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I want you to take your time on it, because I want you to break this thing down and explain to folk, because, you know, you often hear me talk about bureaucracy and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Man, can you talk about and break this thing down regarding what the Supreme Court did in overturning Chevron?
Yeah.
And you know, when I say Chevron, a lot of people are immediately thinking about the gas
Right.
producing company.
Yeah, no, the Chevron case is a 1984 case, Brother Love, where then the court determined that if there was a statutory provision and there was some ambiguity with that statutory provision, and that there was an agency that applied to, or that statutory provision was applied to, then the agency would be in a better position to interpret and to resolve the ambiguity more so than the courts.
But when you say agency, and I'm gonna just make a little injection right
Yeah.
here, when you say an agency, you're talking about unelected individuals versus, let's say, an example of Congress or the Senate, or and you can't put Supreme Court justice in there because they're not elected, they're appointed.
Right.
But agencies of unelected individuals.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And so, you know, just some of the things that came to mind for me, Brother Love, is think about what what Homeland Security did, and the numerous memos that came out from Homeland Security about how to handle individuals who come into this country without the proper documentation. Now, the agency head, because there's a statutory provision that puts them over that, there's a provision that puts them over Homeland Security, basically said, well, listen, who is that? Mayorkas, I want to say it is.
Yeah.
That there was no issue and that they could allow certain individuals into this country without checking all documentation, and that they could not hold, and that ICE could not hold these individuals. That is a circumstance, or for instance, where a federal agency is interpreting an ambiguity in the law that is harmful to this country. When you have an agency that's saying that, yes, let's just allow individuals in without checking to see where they're coming from, to not get them to come back at a certain period of time to determine or ascertain that they are properly in this country or should be in this country, that is a part of what the U.S. Supreme Court is looking at and saying that agencies should not be allowed to interpret those ambiguities any further, because these agencies, for the most part, have taken advantage of and have misled a lot of what has been happening in this country. Dr. Fauci, what agency was he with?
Was it with
Department of Health or something like that?
something like that?
Yeah, I mean, think about what Fauci did. And Fauci came out and talked about how you have to be 6 feet and all of this other stuff, and put all these mandates, or help to put certain mandates in place. An unelected official who was putting rules and regulations in place that were not necessary and well unfounded. When he said shut down the country or whatever the case may be, when these agencies are giving opinions to say that that what should happen with the American people, that has been proven to be a problem. And so the U.S. Supreme Court has determined that that particular power should be taken from these agencies, and that the court should determine and interpret what the statute should say. And that is accurate.
Yeah.
That's what courts are there for, to interpret laws and to ensure the proper application of the laws.
And that takes me to this, Greg, and that takes me to, I think Fauci was in government for 40 some odd years.
Too long.
Too long.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I do believe that institutional knowledge has some value, a lot of value. But I also believe, Greg, you can have individuals that are in government, and whenever I say the word bureaucracy, don't think it's a good thing.
Right.
And when you looked at this Chevron, overturning Chevron, I think, Greg, basically what it was saying is the fact that elected individuals that actually make the rules, if it is that ambiguous, then, and there's some reference in this that should it go back to Congress, and I relate that because that's on a federal level, but just imagine local government. Just imagine how you have bureaucrats and I don't want it to be an insult, but think about how this is the way we do things because this has been always the way we've done it.
Right. Shouldn't be that way.
Shouldn't be that way.
Shouldn't be that way.
But I'm gonna say this last thing, and we can press on, Greg. But I know at the state level, the legislature looks at fiscal impact. No matter what it is, if you come with a recommendation that you want to do something, there's always a fiscal impact analysis of it. So if you want to give, kids that don't have nutrition, if you want to make sure that they're getting nutrition, state wants to know what's going to be the fiscal impact to the state, to the taxpayers.
Right.
And if it comes back that it's $3 million, now you're looking at $3 million against the revenue. All states have the mandate that they got to balance the budget.
Yeah.
Different from Congress. They don't have to balance the budget. Greg, I mean, it just baffles me that when we look at immigration as we're talking about, undocumented immigrants, do you think if the city of Chicago or New York actually looked at this fiscal impact, because they're writing checks like it ain't no tomorrow,
Yeah.
and those taxpayers ask the question, who's going to have to pay the bill? And you better believe in Chicago, those folk got up in front of the lectern and told those politicians, if you vote for folk who are not legally in this country versus folk out here struggling, that we're coming for your seats.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the kind of language, man, I think, at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level, those are the kind of conversations that need to be had.
And listen, there's nothing wrong with having those conversations, but far too many times people are shamed for saying those things. Just like what you're talking about with, with the event with Representative Donaldson. When people stand up and say, "Hey, listen, we shouldn't let everyone into this country without properly vetted and things like that." They're well, why are you against this? And then they go back to this thing. Well, all of us are immigrants, and all the other things that we always hear. But there are laws in place for a reason. A country, much less a city or a county, cannot handle the influx of individuals that are just allowed to flood their borders. There are individuals who pay taxes in order to ensure that the government can provide for its basic needs. And if you're letting individuals in who are not contributors to the tax system, then you're taking away resources from those individuals who are paying those benefits and who are entitled by right to have certain benefits, in the United States.
I hear the conversation, Greg, from a lot of people that are retiring or have retired, and they're on fixed incomes now. And now they're looking at their property tax bills and their property insurance bills, and they're saying, it's never been like this, and I anticipated a gradual increase with the cost of living, but it's escalated to a point. And so when folks say, what do you think is taking place? I said, you got to take into consideration a number of things. When you look at public safety,
Right.
there's a price to be paid.
Yep.
When you look at a myriad of things, when you look at, and Greg, I hate to say it this way, when you look at giveaways, there's a price
Yeah.
for giveaways.
I mean, listen, when you look at roads, when you look at infrastructure, when you look at military, when you look at, all of the things that you're mentioning, someone has to pay for
Someone
that.
has to pay.
And we as taxpayers have agreed and understand that if we're citizens of these United States, we pay taxes. Those taxes are not free money to the government to go and do whatever they want to. Those taxes are to pay for the services that allow us to continue to live and have certain freedoms and certain conveniences in this country. And when you have a drain on those resources, when you have an overuse of those resources by individuals who aren't putting into that system, then we as the taxpayers are the ones that are going to continue to suffer. And that cannot be something that we can allow ourselves to be bullied from saying, listen, something's not right about
Do
it.
you think people are getting tired of being shamed and bullied for
Yeah.
saying what everybody else is thinking?
Yeah, of course. Of course. And like you said, on whatever that program was, we're hearing people speak out and be more vocal about it. I mean, we're hearing people speak out and being more vocal about supporting the Democrat Party because they're saying, particularly in Black America, that the Democrat Party is not listening to and paying attention to the needs of African Americans. And, you know, I would challenge, and listen, forget about what Trump said. You know, in terms of he's done more for Black people than any other president, I don't think that's the case. I'm just going to be upfront about it. But we have a Democratic president now, and the anticipation would be that if we have a Democratic president, then there should be more resources and more going towards the voting bloc that supports Democrats more than anybody else than what they are right now. It's ridiculous that we still have the issues in underserved communities, African American communities, brown communities, and other things that we have when we're saying that, oh, well, you know, Republicans don't like Black people, but in the same respect, Black folks aren't getting much benefit from having a Democratic president.
And you're absolutely correct. And Greg, I think the solution to the conversation that we're having right now, and I mean, I pose it to you, and it's almost like a volley and, you know, alley-ooping myself so I can come back in for the dunk, and that is, you're seeing more and more of these mainstream individuals that have a persona, that have a platform. And I'm talking in particular, when you talk about a Killer Mike, goes on The View and has a conversation, and they're doing everything they can to get Killer Mike to come out and tell people what party to vote for. Charlemagne the God, he went on The View and he told them, you know what? I'm sick and tired of y'all bullying people that
Yeah.
come on the show to stick up for one party or another. Both of those guys are saying,
No, we can't stop that, man. We got to give credit to the person that I believe was the first one to step out and really and truly say, Democrats haven't done anything for us, and until we sit down and they sit down with me and tell me what they're going to do for the African American community, I can't support them. Ice Cube.
you're right.
He was the first one, and
It got vilified.
Ostracized,
Yeah.
But here's the thing, is that we as African Americans have to stop allowing ourselves to be bullied into feeling as if we have to think a certain way. Listen, if that's the way you think, that's fine. But just because someone thinks differently from you does not mean that you need to vilify them. For instance, when I started telling people, you know, years ago, that I could not support Joe Biden, number one, because of his age, number one, because I didn't think that he was qualified, number three, because I saw the history of Joe Biden. When you talk about an individual who has not been friendly to African Americans, don't think that just because Joe Biden sat next to the first African American president that he is, you know, because he's not. Go back and listen to the things that Joe Biden has said about African American males. Don't believe me, go back and hear his own
yourself.
words. Go back and look and see how many African American individuals were pardoned or the lack thereof under the Biden or under the Obama-Biden administration. Don't believe me, go back and look for yourself.
You're going down that super predator avenue.
People don't know what I'm talking
yeah,
about. But
you're going-
that is a real comment from Joe Biden. And he was specifically talking about African American males. And listen, don't get me, please, don't get me on Kamala Harris, because I know what people are saying, and let me put it to you like this. Unless and until she goes home to a Black man, unless and until she has an African American son that's dealing with certain issues, there's not a whole lot that she can tell me about Black America. And that's just me.
And you know, Greg, I heard this and
Or the plight of the Black man. I don't want to say about Black America because she has her own, which, you know, she has her own
lived experiences.
Okay. As a because I don't want to say African American because her parents are Jamaican, if I recall correctly. But yeah, she has on. But in terms of African American males, until and unless you sat there and held a Black man's hand as a son or as your husband and understand the stresses and things that he has to go through on a day-to-day basis.
And trauma.
You can't talk to me about that. Ketanji Jackson Brown. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
They don't understand what it's like to be in a household with an African American male who's dealing with the stresses of being an African American male.
Damn, man, I don't know how to come behind that, Greg.
You want to talk about NILs?
I mean, really, I mean,
You're talking about NIL.
you laid it out, man, in a way that I've never heard it laid out before, but it pulls at not just heartstrings, but it talks and speaks truth to power from the standpoint of trauma, stress, actual lived experiences.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you this right now. That's why I love Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. Barack Obama could have. And listen, I want people to understand this. I am not anti-interracial relationships. I'm not saying that. You love who you love. Point blank and period. But when you see black love at its highest level, what do young kids say? No, that just hit different. Brother love, that just hits different. When you see an African American president, an African American man who is the most powerful man in the free world, and the person that he goes home to every night looks like my mama, or my wife, or my daughter, that just hits different for me. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's why, despite the fact of whether or not I supported everything that Barack Obama did, I love Barack Obama and Michelle Obama for who and what they represent.
So, Greg, you've taken us 100 miles an hour, and you see my saying.
I got you.
You've taken us 100 miles an hour, and I'm gonna slow this down. But while slowing this down, I'm gonna kind of speed it up a little bit when you talk about, man, the doggone track and field in the Olympics.
Listen, man, we just had the Olympic trials this weekend, Brother Love. So if anybody asked me what was I doing this weekend, I was in front of the television watching the Olympic trials. So I love track and field.
But Greg, the big news is who didn't make it.
Yeah.
Came in fourth place.
Now who you talking about? Christian Coleman?
Sha'Carri.
Oh, Sha'Carri Richardson. But no, listen. I mean, she came in fourth place in the 200 meters. She's already snapped the ticket for the 100 meter and the 4x1. But the big story about who didn't make it on the women's side is Ating Mo, who is the American record holder in the 800 meter. And so this was like her first time out racing. She's been injured most of the year. In the finals, Brother Love, in the finals, she tripped and fell on the track and could not recover. And so Ating Mo, one of the most talented 800-meter runners in U.S. history, did not make the Olympics. And she appealed because she felt that she, that she was impeded from, being able to get around the track, and that she was tripped. And they denied her appeal, which is sad. But listen, I think they did the right thing. Like when they did with Sha'Carri Richardson, they said she couldn't go because of the marijuana. Yeah. It was sad, whatever. But I think that it was a right move, by that body and that agency.
So, Greg, give me an update on Quincy.
So Quincy, what's the guy's name? I forget. Quincy Wilson. There's another Quincy that actually won the 400 meters, who was an older guy. But the same race that Quincy Wilson ran in, and Quincy Wilson, 16-year-old kid, Brother Love, he did not place in the top 3 or 4 for the 400-meter dash at 16 years old, running a 44. Running a 45, which is crazy in and of itself. But he did punch his ticket to be a part of the 4x4 relay team. Man. So this is going to be one of the youngest Olympians to ever go. One of the other young Olympians that was out there is Sydney McLaughlin, now Sydney McLaughlin Lebroni. And Cindy McLaughlin, if you all have not watched this young lady run track, 24 years old, she runs the 400-meter hurdles. Brother Love, in the past 3 years, she has broken the world record 3 times.
3 times.
3 times, with one time being last night. In the Olympic trials in the final, she ran a 50.65, which bested her previous world record,
So, Greg, the Olympics is going to be something to watch with.
The Olympics are going to be something to watch.
So tell me this, man. I mean, and I don't want to get past Quincy too fast.
Yeah.
But, man, with all this NIL money going around, does he have an NIL deal?
Listen, if he doesn't have one, he will have one, and I'm sure that some athletic, shoe company or whatever is going to pick this young man up, and I think that it is well deserved.
Wait, where's he out of?
He's out of Baltimore. Baltimore. Yeah, that's right. That's right. The same place as who won the 100-meter hurdles on the ladies' side. I can't think of her name right now, but she's from the same high school as Quincy Wilson.
Great, man. We've been so accustomed, man, when you talk about track and field and Olympics, of always hearing about somebody that's coming out of Gainesville, the Gators, always being familiar with somebody that's coming out of Texas somewhere, those speedsters.
Yeah.
I haven't been hearing that lately, man.
Oh, then you haven't been listening about Grant Holloway then?
Well, out of where?
Out of University of Florida.
Okay,
Came out of
well,
University
see,
of Florida.
well,
Yeah.
see, that's why
And why you playing? And I can't think of his name, and I wish I could. The one who won the long jump is out of Florida State.
Okay, there.
One time for the nose.
See, I knew if I kind of shit you up a little bit, you know.
One time for the nose, man. But listen, Sha'Carri Richardson, that contingent of ladies that won the 100 meters that came in first, second, and third that are training partners, guess where they train?
Where?
Lake County, Claremont.
What?
That's what a lot of people don't realize. There are a
Is
number
there a facility
of
there?
yes, there are a number of world-class sprinting athletes that train right over there in Lake County, Claremont, Florida. As a matter of fact, I've been on that track, and when I was on that track, I saw Brown. I forget her first name. Valerie Brown. But she ran for
So
the
we
Jamaican
got. So
team.
we have a nice world class facility.
You had
over
a
there.
world-class track facility with world-class athletes that train right down the road from where we are right now.
Okay, well, great. We got 2 minutes, man. Help me with this Florida NIL deal has been revised. Or
So
revisited.
it's good. Well, what we're doing is, Brother Love, because remember, I don't know if individuals remember, but the Florida High School Athletic Association approved high schoolers for NIL deals about a month or so ago. Now, that approval was not the final end-all be-all. It now has to go to the Florida Department of Education to be ratified. That meeting takes place on July 24th of this year, July 24th, 2024.
Have you heard anything about it not being ratified?
I haven't heard anything, Brother Love. But remember, this brings up that question. Are high schoolers ready for that level of exposure, that level of potential income? And I'm still on the fence about it because
Can we anticipate a lot of state championships being guided and directed because of private schools having the ability to do a lot of that NIL?
That's where I think this is going. I think that a lot of schools are going to start stacking the deck. We've been stacking the deck a lot. But I think that a lot of schools are going to stack the deck because now they can attract students by saying, listen, if you come to this school, you can get a big NIL deal. I'm still on the fence about it. I don't know how I feel about it.
You know what? We should get our guest that was in here that was really articulating about NIL. Greg, in the last doggone 30 seconds, man, can you tell everybody about our guest who's going to be coming in next week?
Absolutely. So Miss Lenore Easter, who is running for the 9th Circuit Public Defender's Office, she's going to be in here to talk to us about her candidacy. We look forward to talking to her. And if anybody else wants to come in and talk about that campaign, you know how to reach us, and we'll be happy to talk to you.
All right, well, man, look forward to it. And for those of you who view Let's Talk Nation, we appreciate your support. Hey, we're coming to you every doggone Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. And, hey, you know what? We love having this conversation. Hey, General.
Yes, sir.
There's one thing that you know you've been doing for almost 7 years, and I'm going to continue to just kind of encourage you to do it. But you do not have to go home.
But you got to get out of here.
We'll see you next week on Let's Talk Nation with Rod Love and the General, Attorney Greg Jackson.